with 95 cents of every dollar into the research. Well, look at it this way. Our government is a giant charity. And every dollar that you give the government, depending on the program, as little as 20 cents on that dollar gets to the people that program is supposed to help. So therefore, 80 cents of every dollar, when it comes to that particular freebie program, is being spent on governmental overhead. Now, so you know what? There are other things that they have a slightly better rate. I think one of the highest is like 35%. So 35 cents of every dollar goes to what the program is supposed to be helping them for. So why would you? So in other words, if we're going to give money out for a free college tuition, how much do you think is going to take in order to fund it? Well, the CBO and other people have priced out Bernie Sanders' social utopia at over $18 trillion. Now, do you think we're going to get $18 trillion worth of product and service back once it gets funneled through the government? Oh, no. We'll be lucky to get, $9 trillion of that back. And if you're looking at all the statistics, and government tells us how much they spend and how much goes to this person and that, well, not each individual, but they tell us, how much money that actually went to the people and that for the program. You're looking at less than 50%. So out of 18 trillion, less than 9 trillion is going to come back. Now, that's a beautiful money laundering scheme, don't you think? Under Bernie Sanders' plan, you would spend at least, it would be well over it, but at least $18 trillion, and you're going to get back less than 9 trillion of it. Folks, it's not a zero-sum game, which is the problem with a lot of liberals. They just don't understand how, that's why I say we can't afford free. Because if you need programs and all the need for these programs, if they total out to be $18 trillion, or if they total out to be $20 trillion, at the rate of efficiency that our government is at right now, you're looking at needing to collect or spend in taxation, being collected. And it's going to be spent because, the overhead is going to be spent. So in order to get to that $20 trillion distribution, if you will, at the current rate of our federal government's efficiency, not including the military, you're going to need to spend at least $40 to $50 trillion. Do you understand now why I say we cannot afford free? It costs too damn much. And yet we had all 5 of those Democrats, from what I understand, on stage last night, just giving away the candy store. Handing out candy. Yeah, if I'm president, I'm going to give you this and this and this. Oh, no. You can't outdo me. If I'm president, I'm going to give you this, this, and this. And then a good old curmudgeon Bernie gets up there and says, well, I'm the original socialist, so I'm going to give you everything. And, of course, you have Hillary.
I'm the only one with a plan to give away. Because I'm a real person,
This whole notion that we can just give the government. I know it's what it didn't Biden. Was it Biden who said, or was it Pelosi? One of the dunderheads of the Democratic Party. Yeah, it's Biden. Said we have to spend money in order to keep from going bankrupt. Right? Now, I don't know about you, but if you do not have enough money coming in, what's the first thing you do? You have to cut back on your spending. Government never cuts back on its spending, it seems. Well, yeah, we got to cut. It's not a cut. Wait a minute. Here's a government's version of cut, and this is going to happen with free stuff, by the way, so just pay attention to this. This is the government's version of a cut. Okay, this year, a particular department cost $100 million for 2015. $100 million. So now we got a new budget coming out, and they want to have $115 million to fund that organization. So the budget for 2016, and 2016 is not here yet, is $115 trillion. Well, after doing all the budgeting and fighting and all that kind of stuff and figuring out, they realize, oh, well, geez, we can't spend $115 trillion on this department. We're only going to be able to spend $110 trillion. Now, remember, that's 2016. 2016 is $110 trillion or $110 million. 2015, current, they're spending $100 million on that was budgeted. So $110 million is $10 million more than $100 million, is it not? Yes, but our government says, oh, no. We just had a $5 million cut because the original budget was $115, but they only got $110. Where'd the other $5 million go? Oh, it was cut. It wasn't cut, but that's what they tell us. And this is how the Democrats have been getting away by demagoguing Republicans for years. By saying that they cut government spend. They didn't cut government spending. Because government, every year, even with the Republicans, the budget got bigger and bigger and bigger. It's just that the Republicans sometimes just reduce the increase from what the Democrats wanted. But there was no cut in government spending. This is what we get year after year after year, and yet we're told, oh yeah, we're cutting this, this amount of spend. It's called zero-based budgeting. Now, you try that with your own finances and see if you don't end up in the bankruptcy courts or in jail for fraud. Think your own personal finances. You run around and say, well, I make $100,000 a year. So you're going to spend $100,000 a year. But next year, you're going to think, well, I'm going to improve my lifestyle. You're still only making $100,000 a year, but you're deciding you're going to spend $115,000 and some $115,000. But somebody tells you, no, you can't spend $115,000. You're only making $100,000. You're right. I better cut back. I better cut back on my spending. So I'm only going to spend $110,000. And you run around telling your creditors, look, I had a spending cut. I cut my spending, man. Can't you give me a break and give me some help? And they're going to look at you like you got two heads. Wait a minute. Because they're going to say, wait. 2015, you earned $100,000. So that was your budget. In 2016, you're saying your budget is going to be $110,000, but you're still only earning $100,000. How is that a cut? Well, because I originally budgeted for $115,000 budget, but I cut $5,000 off. So you see, I'm trying here. I'm cutting my budget. They will pick up the phone, that banker, and they will make one of two different phone calls. One could be to the police for fraud, or two to the insane asylum because you need some serious mental help. But that's exactly what our government does on an annual basis. And those people up on that stage we're increasing that. Tenfold, 100-fold. Because Bernie Sanders, if he was elected, he'd come up and say, oh yeah, this is an $18 trillion program. And the Republicans would say, no, we can't spend that. How about only $15 trillion? Well, Bernie Sanders would run around and saying that the Republicans cut the size of government by $3 trillion. And that's why nothing works. Because we cut it. We cut the government. We didn't cut anything. Republicans didn't cut a damn thing. They still increased spending from $4 trillion to $15 trillion, but it didn't go from $4 trillion to $18 trillion. So in the Democrat sense, the way they try to frame it and make you hate Republicans and hate conservatives is, they cut the size of government, and now people are going to starve and not be able to get a college education, and people aren't going to be able to, drive their cars, and they're not going to be able to pay for their gas, they're not going to be able to pay, to heat their houses, they're not going to be able to keep a roof over their head, they're not going to be able to keep look, we got the fattest kids on the planet, and yet we're talking about increasing SNAP. Bernie wants to give more to poor people so they can eat better. Hold on. Where is it here? U.S. has the fattest kids on planet. Washington Examiner report, U.S. most obese country in the world. Fattest kids by a mile. Although it gets tops for poor teen health. Oh, our teenagers are healthy, I guess. The United States is home to the most obese population in the Americas, Asia, and Europe. Well, that means the world. Don't you love how they frame that? In the Americas, in Asia, and Europe. Well,
they didn't include Australia, Rod. And they didn't include Antarctica, Rod.
And they didn't include Africa in that, Rod. When was the last time you saw a bunch of fat Africans running around? And I know some people are saying, well, are you saying blacks can't be fat? No, Africa. Don't tell me I have to give y'all a geography lesson. Look at Africa. Now, and tell me who all lives on Africa. Who all are, well, Egyptians are African, right? Yeah, they are. Libyans are African, aren't they? Yeah, I heard, here's this one person. And I said, well, South Africans are African, because this person, he said he was all white, but he said he was half African. Well, his mother was from South Africa. His dad was an American. His mother was South African, but they're both white. So when he said he was half African, somebody else looked at him and said, "You're lying, man. You're all white." And I interjected by saying, well, what's that got to do with anything? Because he's saying he's African. You do realize that South Africans, whether they be black or white, are Africans, right? Oh. My God, the stupidity of some people because of the lack of education and training in our country makes me want to pull my hair out. So we have this article written here that leaves out Australia. I don't know. Anybody see many fat Australians? No, there aren't many. Well, Antarctica, I guess the penguins are fat, but why would you say? Well, most obese population in the Americas, Asia, and Europe. Are they saying that there are countries in Africa that are fatter than the U.S.? And are they saying that on the Australian continent or the Australian sphere is the Australian hemisphere? They're more fat than the U.S. Well, anyway, we have the fattest kids by a wide margin and is tops in poor health for teenagers. Oh, I thought they said good health. I misread it because it said poor. I was thinking they were talking about poor kids. Poor teenagers are in good health in the USA. Maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, I misread it. So, well, I better not say so sue me because you hear about the aunt that sued her nephew for hugging her. Anyway. So we have the fattest kids by a wide margin and tops in poor health for teenagers, according to the latest measure of well-being from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Who the hell are they? Where do all these different organizations that you never hear about come from? Well, I most of them are part of the UN. I get that, but well, I guess they can have all these different organizations or groups or development organizations in the UN because, hey, it's all free to them because we the American taxpayer, we're the one paying for all of that. Like I said,